Hello, you guys, and welcome to a new episode of my weekly podcast called True Talk. I'm sorry for my French folks and viewers and listeners. I'm going to be talking in English today because I want to reach as many people as possible, as the show I'm going to talk about is both American and British. Well, it's just a production, so American, British, that's up to you, but it's very vague. Nevertheless, it's part of Amazon Prime, and we are going to be talking about Rings of Power. I waited during a long time before making today's episode because I wanted the episode 8 to be released, so that got released yesterday, and I watched it in the evening because that's how it works for me. When there is a new episode every single week, I wait for my dinner to eat in front of my favorite show. However, you have to know, guys, that this is the first time in my entire life that I wait and that I, let's say, follow up with a series that much. Because usually when I want to watch something really, really strongly, I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to be waiting for the whole season to be released. I'm not going to jump on it. And that's exactly how it happened for season 1 of The Rings of Power. I waited like 4 months maybe. I watched it in January 2023 and it came out in September 2022. And what makes me really sad is that the season 3, if we copy paste from the last seasons, and yes, season 2 is already the last season. Oh my god. Okay, well, the latest season at least, it takes 2 years. So next season, if I understand it correctly, it's going to be in 2026. Yes, it's time to cry a lot. So now we are going to be talking about season 2, but also about season 1. Well, I'm going to explain a few things to you today and talk to you about my general opinion about the show. So basically, what is it about? If you don't know what it is about. So basically, I think you heard many times, and shame on you if you did not, but I think you heard of Tolkien and also about The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, because it all starts from here, but that happens later. And The Rings of Power happens during the Second Age of Middle-earth, so thousands of years before what we watch and what we read, because it's a book first. Don't forget about it, okay? Don't at me. So it happens thousands of years before Frodo and the Fellowship of the Rings journey to Mordor to destroy the One Ring. So before that, during the First Age, Morgoth is, let's say, defeated from the lands. And so the second series starts with, like, Morgoth died. He got, I don't know if my pronunciation is good or not. I feel fancy pronouncing it in the right way. I'm like, yes, I know how to pronounce this word. And so it starts with, well, it's called The Rings of Power, but basically we see the Rings of Power in the very last episode of season 1. But it's all about that. It just sets the context in general of what's going to happen. And talking about the first season, I'm like, what the fuck? What happened in the first season already? I only remember the second one, but whatever. Oh yeah, here it is. I remember. It starts with Galadriel. She wants to take revenge over everything that happened during that war. Even if they defeated Morgoth, she lost her brother. And so she knows that Sauron is not dead, so he's the servant, let's say. Let's vulgarize a little bit. And he's the servant of Morgoth, and he was a Valar. Well, it's pretty hard to explain in vulgarized words, but basically you have Ilúvatar, so God, basically, and you have primary spirits that were created to help the Valar to just build the world in the way that we're going to know it. So to sum up a bit, because it can be very complex. So to sum up all that, the Maiar are the servants of the Valar. Okay, I think it's, yeah, okay. And Morgoth, but his primary name was Melkor. I don't know how to pronounce it. Melkor. No, I don't know how to pronounce it. So he was a very strong, let's say, not an angel, but I don't know if we can compare these characters to what we have in Christianity, but let's take it from there. You have the like superior spirits, the Valar, and the not inferior, but like the servants of the Valar, called the Maiar, okay? And Sauron is the servant of the Valar, Melkor, but then he got renamed Morgoth, okay? It was his original name, so Melkor was his original name, and his servant was Sauron, okay? And Sauron wanted the power, the full power, okay? And this is basically the storyline of it. So it starts with Galadriel, who wants to take revenge, and then we get introduced to Elrond, Durin, the dwarves, Disa, I really loved them, oh my god, and the Southlands before they got turned, let's say politely, into Mordor. So it's really the creation of everything, the context. And then the Harfoots, because they will obviously become the little hobbits that we know these days. But at the origin, if I remember correctly, there were like 3 main clans, and the Harfoots are one of the 3 clans of like the original and older hobbits. And we get to know also Halbrand. Well, I'm not going to spoil, but he's very important. How can I say something else? So we get to know also Gil-galad, the High King of the Elves. We see Lindon, we see Eregion. We see really every single, I'm sorry to say that, but ruin that we go through in The Lord of the Rings. But it is just to set the context in general. And then the second season is where, well, the first season ends with the creation of the 3 elvish rings, so including Nenya, the ring of Galadriel. And then the second season starts with like the creation of the 7 rings for the dwarves, and then the 9 rings for the humans. So we really dive into this, basically. And what about this episode is going to be about, now that I introduced you what it is about and how it is complex, because I tried to read the Silmarillion many times. And that means maybe 5 times in total. I had to buy atlas, I had to buy encyclopedias. The one written by David Day is very, very, very good, because it's a very complete, well, this is my opinion, of the Silmarillion, because god damn it, it's hard. Like really, it's very complicated to understand. You also have more books like The Children of Húrin. I don't know the pronunciation, once again. You also have the it's Unfinished Tales. Oh my god, I don't know the title in English, but basically you have many, many, many tales about Middle-earth. So you might consider them as bonus stories and bonus books that go with The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So now that I explained it all to you, I'm going to talk deeper about the second season. The second season, basically, I have the list of the episodes just before my eyes, and what was very hard for me was to remember what happened in the previous episode. Really. And it is the first time of my life ever that I really, really focus and I pay attention on previously in, well, you know, the previously, okay, précédemment. And I really paid attention because I was like, oh yeah, that's true, I forgot. It makes me feel old every single time, but that's okay, that's fine. I read the books when I was 12 years old, and that's already complicated, but anyways, because before that, I didn't have the right, I wasn't, how can I say so? My parents were scared that I would be afraid of the movie, of the orcs, of the scenes and stuff, so they said that before I could watch The Lord of the Rings, I would have to be minimum 12 years old. But as I can see on Amazon Prime, it's 13 plus. And I think that's the correct age. Yes, indeed. It's not because of the blood or stuff. Well, in my opinion, it's just because it's complex. But in the second season, 𝘗𝘁𝘀𝘀 thumb, yes, 13 plus, indeed, because it traumatized me. But that's just, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I prefer to forget about it. Okay, forget about the image, forget about the feelings. Oh my God, no, it's traumatizing. Okay, so I'm just going to talk like one by one. I'm not going to tell what's gonna happen in that episode, but I'm going to say a few words about each episode, but very short, very short. But during the first episode of the season, it's all about Sauron, what happened to him. And I got a bit mixed up because I got a bit lost like that because my gosh, first episode, I'm like, whoa, what is happening? I don't understand. Does it happen after the end of season 1 when we discover who's Sauron, or does it happen before? And actually, it's both of them. So it's kind of complicated. If you don't tell me clearly on the screen before, or like there is an explanation or like a note about where and when does this happen, my brain is going to be like, error 4404, brain.x stopped working. Not kidding. So it's basically about Adar and Sauron. And then we go back to the stranger and Nori. No, Poppy doesn't appear in the first one. I don't think so. I don't remember. And then we talk about the 3 elvish rings and the fact that Elrond did not agree at all with the sheets. Okay, well, that's very vulgarized. So that's basically the whole introduction of what happened previously, but also what more elements do we need to know first and foremost before we dive into the second season. And then we learn more about, let's say, the shadows over Khazad-dûm, because we know that it's going to be the Moria. Yes. And I think that some people actually discovered it, just knowing that there is the Balrog. I saw on Instagram people saying, oh my gosh, but I didn't realize that it was actually... Yes, indeed. Hello. But it can be complicated because that's all about high fantasy. You have many names, the world building, the lore is hella complicated and hella, how am I talking? Oh my God. My vocabulary. But it's very complex. You have many places, many names, you're going to get lost. And brain.x will stop working. Yes, for sure. But you will need to turn it on again. And then, yes, it's going to be turned off many times reading a high fantasy book. But that's the thing. But if you really want to be immersed, like fully immersed in a universe, high fantasy is perfect for you. And this is why I love it. So it's about Sauron and then Galadriel looking for allies and stuff, about the threat in general on the stranger and the half-foots. It's another introduction, but you see that the shadows are progressively coming and just invading everything and spreading over everything. And then in the third episode, it's about the Eagles, about Ar-Pharazôn, about Númenor, about the characters that we enjoyed following in the first season. But this season, the second season, is really about Celebrimbor, and I don't know how to pronounce that name. Celebrimbor. Yes, Celebrimbor. It's easier because I don't know how to do like I don't. So Celebrimbor and Sauron, okay, working together, but Celebrimbor doesn't know what's happening, and it's just the turning point of the whole insanity that's going to happen to Celebrimbor. So the manipulation, and god damn it, that manipulation is strong. And it's just impressive. The way it was, oh my god, I was speechless. And I'm still today speechless. I tried to write down a few things, but that's very complicated. Because usually, for those of you who listen to my other episodes in French, yes, but you can turn on the switch on the subtitles if it works. I don't know if it works. I cannot try that out myself, but I think it works because some people watch my episodes with the subs sometimes. So I think that it works. I don't know if the subs are the correct ones, but let's say it tells the main things I want to tell in my videos. And what was I saying that? Yeah. Oh yeah, I improvise a lot. I improvise. It's as I'm very emotional, and also the intellectual side of what I read, what I watch, etc. It really matters to me. I'm going to think about something that I didn't think while writing the script, if that makes sense. So in the 4th episode, after you see that Anatar, so Sauron, is going to, let's say, advise Celebrimbor. What kind of tips do you want, bitch? Okay. After all that, during the 4th episode, the stranger found what he wanted. But honestly, guys, I'm going to spoil you a little. No, I think it's in episode 6. I think it's in episode... No, it's in episode 4? Really? I don't remember. But we see Tom Bombadil. And honestly, guys, I cried. When I say I'm very emotional... especially for the final, so the 8th episode, I took my tissue box with me. And I'm not fucking kidding. I'm not kidding. I took my tissue box with me and I was like, I felt really ridiculous, but I don't care. You know what? I don't mind. But I've never felt that connected and that strange, no, that crazily weird, because I felt awkward at the same time, because I never felt that way for any show in the past. So I think that's because it's The Lord of the Rings. And this is why I got really scared to watch the show at first. Because The Lord of the Rings, you don't touch it. You just, don't even try. Don't even try. So don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't try to, it's like remakes. It's like retelling a story. But that time, the showrunners are really trying, and they did amazingly amazing. Telling a story on screen that got told in books. But these books, as I told you, are very messy. And this is my opinion about them. I read a quite good amount of them. I'm not going to say all of them because that would be a lie. But I read a good amount of books from Tolkien about Middle-earth, and every single time I need to take notes. I need to take notes and reread. So the showrunners did, I don't know if I can say so, but they are so brave, because it is such an obstacle and something very complex to just try to depict in a show, something that's so messy in words and like so complex, but they did it. So, but that was something I was really afraid of. Are they going to do good, or is it going to be very bad? Is it going to be, because it happens a lot these days, that remakes or like retellings or just showing on screen what's in a book, it happens a lot that they forget many elements. That cannot be the thing with the Rings of Power, because Tolkien himself didn't say much about things that we might consider as very important, but he's the author. So who is going to say, oh my god, he should have said something about that, but then, like, he died, so maybe he was about to, but his son had to put his works in the right order, and that was already something. So turning what he did, his works, into books, it is already something. So rewriting the books and depicting the books onto screen, oh my gosh, that's such a challenge. That's even more than a challenge, if you understand what I mean, if you see what I mean. So in the 4th episode, I think that's when we see Tom Bombadil. Then we see again Arondir and Isildur and Theo. I don't really like Theo, to be honest, but in the last episode, I really like him. But that's the only time I enjoy watching. But that's just my personal opinion. It's like Kimen, but who likes Kimen? He's a bitch. Like, really. So, who loves him? Please tell me. I don't understand. He's an interesting character, but he's also very jerk, so... we don't care about them. No, he's just here to be the evil human that you want to punch straight in the face. It's like, c'était quoi déjà son nom? No, it's like Joffrey Lannister. Well, I would say that Kemen is not that horrible as Joffrey Lannister, because honestly, Game of Thrones, I will never watch this show again. No, it's too much for me. I can't handle it. I'm older, but I feel like I'm sensitive, and I need to accept that this show is not for me. But the Rings of Power, yes, okay. But it's the Lord of the Rings. And then in episode number 5, the threat of the rings that his father is wearing, you see that the rings given to the dwarves are a threat, and that's the big difference between the 3 rings given to the elves and the 7 rings given to the dwarves. Well, you see that there is a decrease, if I can say so, and the threat gets bigger and bigger as much as they create the rings, if that makes sense. Like the 3 rings made for the elves, I don't remember that. Well, Sauron helped making them. Oh, is it a spoil? No, it's not a spoil. Sauron helped Celebrimbor making them, but he did not infuse a part of him as he did with the dwarves, because when they make the rings, the 7 rings for the dwarves, you really see that he puts a big shadow. He's like whispering. He's a ring whisperer. And he puts a part of his dark magic and his voice and his soul into the rings. And then with the 9 rings for the humans, he lies to Celebrimbor, and instead of giving him mithril, he gives him his blood. So the 9 rings for the men are made and created with Sauron's blood, and that makes the whole difference, because we know the Nazgûl. We know how they will turn out. We know that. We know that the humans are the worst ones because they are the most corrupted of all. But we already see in that 5th episode that the rings given to the dwarves are already a big threat, and they try to start thinking that, yeah, we might look after them a little bit, like keep an eye on them. In a way, we can say that Durin started to distrust the ring of his father, because he's the only dwarf wearing a ring in this 2nd season. But we see in the last episode that, yeah, the 7 rings are going to be given to all the dwarves, of course. It's not a spoiler, we know it. It's one of the first scenes in The Lord of the Rings, so we know about it. So Celebrimbor has to check, let's say, his priorities, what to do, what not to do, but he wants to do something spectacular. He wants to be praised. He wants to do something very good that will change the face of the world. So he is blinded, let's say, by the fact that he wants something spectacular in his life. He wants to create something with his hands and be praised for that. So, and then we see Númenor again and Elendil, okay? But in my opinion, that was, except for the episode where Miriel is going in the sea and, you know, like, le coup d'état. How do we say that in English? That could be interesting. Well, you know what? It's a French word. So coup d'état, the reversal of the government of Númenor. Honestly, sometimes I'm just looking for a specific word. I take my dictionary to find the right translation, and it's the same thing as in French. And I'm like, oh, okay. So even when I'm saying my words, I don't know, in English, in French, people might understand after all. So that's okay. That's okay. So it's about a reversal, and the most interesting part about Númenor was when Miriel had to be like, I don't know how is it called, but basically she goes in the sea and there is a sea monster, and the sea monster eats you if you are not accepted by the Valar, or like blessed by the Valar. And if you are accepted, you go back and you do not die, and she's the first one not to die from this test, let's say, from this challenge. In the 6th episode, I think this is where we see Galadriel talking much deeper about what's gonna happen with Adar. I think this is Adar. I love the way that Uruk say that. Adar. Okay, never mind. So there is like the reversal of Numenor still. You have the stranger wisdom Bombadil. Will he save? Because we also see, and I don't know anything about it, because I think that all of the questions we had during the first season and that second season, they got an answer, except for the name of Adar, because he was an elf before that, before being an Uruk-hai, and basically he had another name, and this is what we learn in episode 8, but we don't know this name. What is it? I think it could be considered as an anecdote, but I want to know everything, so tell me. That's it. And about the wizard, not the stranger, but the wizard in Rune, I don't know if that's Saruman or one of the blue wizards, also called the 𝘛𝘳𝘠. I think that's the correct pronunciation. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. 𝘛𝘳𝘠. But the blue wizards who were part of the 5 histories sent to Middle-earth and stuff to help all of the other species and stuff. Well, species. Can we say species? Like elves, dwarves, species. The inhabitants of Middle-earth, to be more politically correct. It's not a species you pick in a video game. That's more than this. They're human beings. Well, human beings. Beings. And then you have, again, like the manipulation of Sauron on 𝘗𝘩𝘠. And then, episode 7, I'm going to be very brutal, but that was the worst of the series. Of the second season, but of the series. Because, well, spoiler alert, there is a scene between Galadriel and Elrond. And it shocked all of us, I think. Well, it's not it's just like a, how do we say that in French? How do we say that? We have a specific word to describe kiss. Yeah, because we make categories in which we put the different kiss. Yeah. You have the French kiss, but that's not the case. And you have a smack. Yes, we call it a smack. So it's just your mouth on a mouth and that's it, And this is what is basically the thing in the 7th episode. And I'm like, you're just kissing your mother-in-law. No. I mean, the kiss I wanted, I would die for, was a kiss. But I know it's not. But it was a kiss between Galadriel and Sauron. I wanted it to happen so much. I wanted it to happen. I'm just a girl after all. And I wanted a kiss between these two. But yes, because I shipped them. So yes. And I would be so happy. I know that some fans would be like, oh my god, no, they could not do this. But like Galadriel finally accepting to go alongside with Sauron and kiss him like, I love you, my dear, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's basically a very, very low and bad high fantasy romance that we see these days. But honestly, the love story, that is to say between brackets, the love story, the connections, the relationship between Halbrand, okay, whatever, and Galadriel, I was a fan of it. I was really into it. It was really intense. And I was like, yes, oh, I like it. Because in their eyes, if you read between lines, you understand that they have feelings for each other's. And this is what Sauron says in the last episode, that he would do anything for his queen. If Galadriel accepted to be his queen, he would do anything for her. And you're like, oh, this is so beautiful. You're the worst enemy. You're the worst, like, yes, you know what I mean about Sauron. But at the same time, he has feelings for her. So it makes him more human than ever. And that's what I loved about this season. Well, I also loved and found very, very crazily interesting the character of Adar. He's very, very interesting. And Sauron, because he cried in the last episode. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he cries. Like, oh my god. Okay. 𝘗𝘩𝘠𝘭𝘨's thumb in episode 7. Yes, let's not talk about it because I did a nightmare. So no, I'm very sensitive. Okay. So the 8th episode is the best of all because the landscapes, and it leads us to our third part, the third chapter of this episode. And this is basically what makes The Rings of Power an amazing show. And I listed, and I really did, I'm not lying, I listed like, I don't know how much, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 arguments, 10 reasons why The Rings of Power is an amazing show. And that episode is really like, yes, oh my god, the music, the characters, the way that things are said. We finally who the stranger is, and I'm like, oh, I wanted to cry so much. My cheeks and my jaws were shaking. And I was like, no, you're a strong woman. You're 29. You're not going to cry for a show. Well, I cry for a cartoon. So, you know, I'm not... Je suis pas assez prêt, comme on dit en français. Well, I tried a little and I found... I don't know if that's the correct translation of this expression, but I'm not that close. It means that je ne suis pas assez prêt. It means that I cry for a cartoon. So after all, crying for your favorite show, cry, my girl, cry. Just do it. Just do it. Let your rage, let your sadness go out of this body. So yeah, I wanted to cry so much. But I just, yeah, I kept my tears inside. And that was, yes, that was courageous. I don't know if that was stupid, but I did it. But it's stupid because I could have cried, really. So on to our third part. Why is it a very good show? Like one of the best I've ever watched in my entire life. I'm really crazy about this show. But it's also because it's The Lord of the Rings. Yes, of course. So my first reason would be the visual spectacle and cinematic quality. It's extremely high. Because honestly, oh wait, did I put something on the music? No, I don't think. Well, yeah, I listed it number. Well, okay, I need to tell that beforehand before I keep talking about my 10 reasons. There is no specific hierarchy in these reasons, okay? There is no hierarchy. It's just a list of reasons. It's not like the first reason, second reason. No, it's just a list. So number 1, number 2, okay? I wanted to make it clear because there is nothing better than another reason, you know. So, one reason of these 10 reasons is the visual spectacle and cinematic quality. Honestly, guys, this is the very last scene of episode 8, the landscape. It makes me go back to the first season with the beautiful musics and incredible landscapes. And I was like, God damn it, this is so high quality. Extremely, extremely high quality. Breathtaking. Detailed. Stunning. Like, they created something so immersive. I got immersed. Let's transform a word I don't know how to pronounce, okay? But I got so immersed in this. Like, it's a whole experience that you go through. It's very hard to put words on my feelings. It's the hardest challenge ever to put words on how I feel. And you're like, you watch it on the big screen. It is just a freaking screen, but you go through so many emotions. It's breathtaking. It's speechless. So this iconic Middle Earth is brought to life like Númenor, Khazad-dûm, but before it got destroyed, so where people were living there, when dwarves were living under the mountain. And it's very rich. It is so stunning. And Tolkien would be hella proud. And true story, this is an anecdote. Like, take it for granted because this is the way I felt. When I watched the first season of The Rings of Power, I didn't like it. And that's true. I didn't like it. I was not a hater, but I was like, you know, don't touch it. Don't freaking touch it. And after I watched that alchemy between Disa, Durin, and Elrond, I fell in love definitely with the show. Because this trio, it brought me so many feelings all at once. And it's just... the actors they picked, the cast is just the best cast ever. And what I love specifically is that before being cast of the Rings of Power, I'm not going to say that they were nobody, but they were not that famous. So we can say that they are beginning actors. And this is why I enjoyed a lot, because what I hated about Dune, for example, is that they picked very famous actors just because they wanted that on their, how can I say so? The famous faces of the actors was advertising people. It was really a full and a whole part of the advertisement campaign on the movie posters. Just because you see Zendaya and other actors, I don't remember the names, I'm sorry. I don't remember. Oh, Jason Momoa, he also plays in it. 𝘛𝘳𝘠 something. 𝘛𝘢𝘁. Non, pas 𝘛𝘢𝘁. No, it's Chalamet. Sorry, it's not 𝘛𝘢𝘁. Oh my god. Okay, whatever. It's basically a burner, the 𝘛𝘢𝘁. Oh my god. But like, okay, whatever. It was part of the advertisement campaign on the movie posters. And that's what's crazy about the Rings of Power, because they have not a single amazingly famous face, but just for the fact that it is all about the Rings of Power and the Lord of the Rings. Sorry, and the Lord of the Rings. It makes the whole advertisement campaign. You don't need to say more. It's about the Lord of the Rings. And it's about the second age of Middle-earth. I just regret not seeing the first age because I want to know everything. But that's just me. I'm a perfectionist. I'm passionate. And everything I'm passionate about, I want to know everything. But every single detail. I'm not kidding. And this is crazy. I'm crazy about it. Yes, indeed. I want to know everything. I want to know everything. I want to go through everything. I want to be like a doctor. A doctor. I want to have a PhD, you know, about the Rings of Power. So I want to know everything. But okay. So second reason, it's how can I say so? It would make a John Ronald Reuel. How in French I know how to pronounce it, but in English it's always a wall. Tolkien's law. It expanded Tolkien's law, and he would be so proud. He would really, really be so proud. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't like the 2-3 first episodes because I was like, don't touch my Lord of the Rings. But also because I heard that there was a Mexican elf. I'm not going to lie to you. But when I watched Arondir and 𝘗𝘳𝘠, they quickly, like in an instant, they became my favorite characters. And when I see that still today people are complaining because they are Mexican, black, whatever, Asian elves and dwarves and stuff, I'm like, what the heck? There is no problem. Tolkien never said that there could be no black elf. So what's the matter? What's the matter with a black dwarf? What's the matter with an Asian elf? I mean, there's no freaking problem. I would be mad if an elf would have pink hair. Yes, indeed. Pink, blue hair, green hair. I would be like, no. Just stop. Yeah, yo, look at me. No. I would say no. But about this, I was like, no. But at the beginning, I was just afraid of it. Because the way that I read comments, I was scared. But I had no reasons to be scared in the end. Because it's just amazing. And we have to keep fighting for the rights of these amazing actors. And I don't know if you know, but Ismael, the actor who plays Arondir, he had struggles being a member of the cast, getting the role, and this is so unfair, but he insisted and he finally got it because he wanted it more than breathing. He wanted it and he got it. And same for Elrond. He was not the actor, he was not a member of the cast. It was, what's his name again? No, it's not William. What's the name of it? Elrond was supposed to be played by the actor who plays Gally in The Maze Runner. I think so. And I was like, what? No, that's not possible. But also the first time I saw Elrond on screen, I was like, what the heck? I didn't like him. And when I saw the connection and the alchemy between Elrond, 𝘗𝘳𝘠 and Durin, honestly, these three are the most handsome and sexiest characters Like, really. That's just so amazing. I have no words to describe how I feel. But these characters and these actors became my source of inspiration in my life also. Especially, no, not especially, all of them. And also Arondir, because the actor struggled to get the role, but he insisted, and his journey to get the role of Arondir is just I don't know how can I say that, but it's such a great experience and a teaching that we would remember. We have to remember it. If you want something, go for it. Just fight for it. Just sweat for it, you know. If you really want it, fight for it. Never stop. They didn't know it was impossible, so they did it. It's part of a comic that I read in French. The Castle of 𝘛𝘳𝘶 𝘦, the Castle of the Stars, the Castle in the Stars. They didn't know it was impossible, so they did it. And honestly, thinking about Elrond being the first on the list, well, Robert being the first on the list, on the waiting list, and finally being casted to that role. Casted. Does it exist? Casted. Wait, I'm going to type on the internet because I don't know. Casted. No, cast. Cast? He got cast. To cast. No, it's not that. Well, I think that's... Ok. Casté pour le rôle. Non, pas rôle, rôle. Cast. Yes, it's not casted, it's cast. Okay. Whew, now that I know, I'm going to be less anxious about seeing shit. But the fact that he was on the waiting list and then taken because the other one said, oh no, in the end I cannot play Elrond because I have another contract, and go. Like, go. You, look at me. Go. Okay. Finally, Robert got the role, and same for Arondir. I don't know what was the reason. I think because the showrunners and the cast, well, the people in charge of hiring the cast, of the casting, they said that he didn't have a face for an elf, or like, I was like, what? What the fuck is that? Okay. Do you know what chickens say when they're annoyed? Fuck off! So yeah. That's what I think about it, okay? So he wanted it and he got it. So these 4 characters became really my favorite elements of the show. And then, of course, Tom Bombadil in the 2nd season. Of course! I cried when I heard the music. So, honestly, it just dives into the second age of Middle-earth. And this is my second reason. It has been really unexplored in previous adaptations like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. It was unexplored. It was not explored at all. So it covers the rings, as I told you, the rise of Sauron. Epic. It's epic. And all of that led to what we know from The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Well, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings in the chronological order. So for fans like me, it offers me something amazing. It gives me new dimensions to characters and stories that got briefly mentioned, but that's a start for something amazing. How is that? How incredible is that? Okay, my third reason is, and I really thought that this episode would be short, but in the end, no, I always have something to say. I read a lot and I talk a lot, so forgive me for that. I always have something to say. Yes, that's the way I am. Okay. And my emotions control me. So I have... Well, my cats are just doing... Tadu! Stop it! Okay. Sorry. Forgive my cats for making noises in the background. So my third reason is all about the characters and the perspectives. Because you have new characters and characters that do not. And my cats make more noise to cover my episode. Oh my god. Oh, little beaches. Sassy little beaches. It offers new characters. Like, I don't think that Isildur really has a sister, but yeah, whatever. The real character that got created for the show is Adar. And honestly, oh my god. because it expands also lesser known figures, but it creates more figures, and we wish they would be part of the original books. I really wish that Ada exists. I really wish. And they are called non-canonical characters. Well, in French, it's non canonique. So it means that they are not part of the original story, so created for the show and stuff. Non-canonical or uncanonical. I don't know if that's the word in English, but let's try. Let's try. And Galadriel and Elrond, we don't see them much in The Lord of the Rings. We see them more in The Hobbit, in my opinion. Because they just... How can I say that? In The Lord of the Rings, they're just depicted as... Well, you know, they're peaceful. They don't want to fight. But they spent so much time fighting in the past. So just, you know, they're just wise old people. Let's say. Wise old people. But in this series, Galadriel specifically is more complex. She's very determined. And I would not say that it's refreshing her character, but it's another way to describe her. And this is likable. This is really likable. So you have familiar and new characters, and these new characters like the Half-Foots, so the ancestors basically of the hobbits we know. I really want to know if Nori and Poppy have something to do with the creation of the Shire. If they are ancestors of Frodo, of Sam, or whatever character, you know. I really want to know if they're going to invent something about it. And I really want to, actually. I really wish they do. I really wish. So it's a different perspective because you have a mix of familiar and new characters. And it's really original and I like it. So we can say that it's a rich tapestry. How can I say that correctly? My intellectual focused brain is really working and it's sweating. A rich tapestry with storylines that are interconnected. I think, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it depicts pretty well what I wanted to say. A fourth reason, it's the world building, the storytelling, the way that the show is weaving plots and storylines together, the rise of the evil, but also Númenor, Khazad-dûm, the slow burn, because sometimes it's not slow burn, I think that sometimes I got bored, like nothing really happens in the end, and then in 2 episodes, boom, you're just shocked. Your hair is just going crazy in the wind that the episodes create, because suddenly everything happens at the same time, and you're like, whoa. Oh my god, so this night I'm going to have a very refreshing night and sleep. I'm going to sleep well. Okay, so it goes very deeply. It creates depth in the story, and it leads to more dramatic but also very epic moments. The first season, when we discover Númenor, when we discover Khazad-dûm, when we discover Lindon, Eregion and stuff, I was like, oh, whoa. And I think that we could say that the show honors the traditions of what Tolkien wanted to make, the mythological side, the large scale, but it's very large, it's very big. The world building is huge. It's part of our mythology. But it also incorporates small things, small arcs, small stories. But I would also say that, well, I'm very emotional, so of course it touched me with my emotions. But I think it also touches other people other people emotions. I don't know if I'm very English sometimes, but anyways, and I'm starving because it's lunchtime. But anyways. The moment you're going to listen to it, it's going to be dinner time or like sleeping time for you, and you're going to be like, what? Okay. It's like a time capsule. I'm not kidding. A fifth reason would be that I feel nostalgic. I feel very nostalgic. During these, how many weeks was that? It was a month and a half on Amazon Prime, waiting for the next week for the more episodes and stuff. I rewatched the long versions. Sorry, but for me, The Lord of the Rings is the long versions or nothing. And I felt very nostalgic because I watched the first one. The first one, it's cozy, it's comfy. And then the second one, it's like, oh my God. And then the third one, you're crying because it's the end of The Lord of the Rings. And reading the books, I'm not going to lie to you, I read the first one. So The Fellowship of the Ring. Yes, I think so. And, well, I also read other books, but The Hobbit, of course, and the *𝘛𝘳𝘏 and stuff, but I read only The Fellowship of the Ring. I don't know why I stopped, but honestly, maybe I was too young to completely finish it, because it's complex. You need to be adult to understand deeply what's being told to you, what's being written before your eyes. And I felt very nostalgic because we have The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, amazing movies. And yes, indeed, The Hobbit, in my opinion, is not as good as The Lord of the Rings, but it's very, very good. And I love it sometimes more than The Lord of the Rings because it's lighter. It adds a comical side to The Lord of the Rings universe, if you know what I mean. So hope, courage, battles between good and evil. It's new and very familiar. I felt so nostalgic. I was like, oh my God, Nori and Poppy, they're connected to the Hobbits. Oh, okay. I'm very emotional, I told you. But I repeat it. I repeat. So it makes its own path. But you have, let's say, it's a word that could apply for video games, but there are Easter eggs. There are Easter eggs and references. And I think I found them all. Even when the stranger talks to the Harfoot, you should always follow your nose or whatever. I remember him. My cat wants to participate. He agrees with me. Thank you so much, Totoro. Yes, his name is Totoro. Totoro and Teddy Bear. What's the problem? There is no problem. Okay. And then my argument number 6 would be the representation and diversity of the characters. Because the cast is more diverse. I really, really love the cast in The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, even if there is no clear diversity, you know. But it's modern. The Rings of Power is modern. So, of course, it adds representation and diversity. But it is appreciated because Middle Earth is a cozy place where more people can see themselves, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm very English in this sentence, but whatever. I think you understood. I hope you understood. So by bringing all that perspectives, cultures and stuff, it feels more inclusive, of course, for today's audience, but also it's cool. I think it's cool. At first, I didn't take it that way, but I need to take a few steps back to just think over it again, rethink the whole thing, and now I totally agree with what I say. So, reason number 7, I'm sorry this episode is very long, but the performances, the actors themselves, because as I told you, they are beginners. The newer talents, like Galadriel, Arondir, and other ones, well, every single actor of the series. Well, maybe not in season 2 because Tom Bombadil, we know him from James Bond and stuff, but whatever. I don't watch James Bond. So, you know. Well, I watched the very first ones. But with Daniel Craig, no, I don't. I don't like him. Okay. So, they are brought to life and we can see that as actors, they're very talented. They're very good. And their chemistry, as I said, between Elrond, Disa, and Durin, I fell in love with that show thanks to them. And it adds, how can I say that? We can say that the actors are emotionally invested in the show and it adds layers. No, it's not that. I can't say that it adds layers, but it adds something about the emotional investment of the actors who portray the different characters. Oh my gosh. My stomach is like, feed me! Feed me! Why are you talking instead of eating? Are you crazy? Okay, sorry. But, you know, I really thought... I started this episode at 1 p.m. because I was like, I'm going to finish at 1:30 and take my lunch. But I'm very passionate. So, of course, it doesn't long 30 minutes only. No, of course not. But, okay. Reason number 8, it's very ambitious. It's very ambitious and it has a huge potential. I wrote that down, but I don't know the fuck I wanted to mean by that. Okay. Well, it's ambitious because it explores thousands of years. I think that's what I meant. You know, I write something down, I start talking, and then I'm like, I forgot what I wanted to say. I feel like an old lady already. I'm 29, but I feel like a very old lady, but whatever. It gives potential to change and evolve into something greater than it already is, and it's going to be very hard to get better and greater, but it's possible. Knowing the showrunners and watching a few interviews here and there, yes, it's possible to do something greater, even if it is already incredible and huge. So I anticipate future seasons, but at the same time, I don't want to, because there are mysteries that that are going to be unfold. Like, who is this wizard? Is he one of the blue wizards? 𝘛𝘩𝘦. Yeah, I think that's it. You know, I said that word at the beginning of this episode, and an hour later, I don't remember. Okay, well, that's basically me. Hello, nice to meet you. So, Númenor, yeah, the fall of Númenor, the fall of Khazad-dûm. I don't want to see that, but we're going to see that. It's gonna happen. And maybe some characters will be introduced, new characters that could be, well, Celebrian, of course. Celeborn, I really thought that we would hear about Celeborn in that season, but it didn't happen. But anyways, it has to happen. But I don't think that they should spend much time on Celeborn and Celebrian, because I'm like, Tolkien wrote beautiful love stories between Aragorn and Arwen, but also about Beren and Luthien. I have the book. Well, the poem. I have it. And it's really incredible. It makes you cry, really. Well, sometimes you need to take a dictionary with you, but it makes you cry in the end still, once you understand. So about Celebrian and Celeborn, I'm hopeful, but at the same time, I don't want to spend more time than necessary on these stories. If you understand and if you agree with me, you will understand that. 9th reason, the music. Yeah, the music, I mean, yes, except there is one music that I hated, The Troll, because I hate heavy metal. I don't like that. When I say I'm an old lady, I also love peaceful music, okay? I really love electro and orchestra and stuff, but you have to know that I spent years studying in a musical school. I wanted to go to Juilliard to study opera, music, and piano. It didn't happen because very expensive and abroad. Okay, I'm French. Never forget about it. So it was very scary. But I studied music, and music resonates with my emotions. I talk about my emotions once again. Drink water when I say emotion, okay? Really. You're not going to be dehydrated. You're going to hydrate yourself. I'm not kidding. It's all about the grandeur. How do you say grandeur? Grandeur. It's like the cul-de-sac and the déjà vu. The grandeur. The coup d'état. The grandeur. The grandeur. Yes. I don't know if that exists, but let's try. Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe it does exist, so I'm trying. So there is it's majestic. I think this is the word. The music is majestic. The themes are powerful. The experience is enhanced. Just because the music, oh my gosh, in the season 1, I was like, ça m'a décroché la moumoute. How can I say that? I was blown off, but maybe it doesn't exist in English. The hairpiece. The hairpiece. Really, no, I don't know it exists in English. Décrocher la moumoute. Make the hairpiece fly. Get the what? No, it doesn't exist. I'm sorry, I can't find it. I don't want to be more ridiculous than I already am. But really, I felt like whoosh. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's better to say something with like sounds than real words, like onomatopoeia. You know? Yes, it's better. Okay. So the whole experience got enhanced by the music. The design, the swords, the whispers, nature sounds, vast landscapes. It's very immersive. Like, it's another layer. It's another level. You're into it. When you watch an episode, you forget that your life is, time is still, you know. You forget where you are. Well, you forget that you're in your house watching. Ooh, forgive me. And the last argument, the last reason. I think that it's a good introduction to the universe of the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, and it refreshes all that because there are newcomers. I'm a very old fan because I started to be a fan at 12 years old, and I'm 20 and I'm 29. So 12 to 29, please don't count. No, don't. I know you're already counting, but don't. I feel very old and shitty, so no. But I can't wait to be 30 years old because I will be considered as a real adult. So it's good. It's good. There is a good thing in getting 30. But really, there are newcomers. Don't forget that I don't accept it, but some kids were born in 2000. Oh my God. They are still kids to me. Well, really, if you were born in 2006, you are still in primary school, in my opinion. But whatever. It's because I was born in the 90s. I feel old, okay? I was born in the previous... no, let's not say anything about it. I will feel older and older and older. I'm an old wizard. So there are newcomers. Don't forget. So it's good that the Rings of Power comes right now because there will be more people who will discover all about the Lord of the Rings. They will be like, oh my gosh, there are huge books. Read a book. Read a book. Your to-be-read pile is going to be bigger and longer and higher. Yes, I promise you. I promise you. But don't say a word about this, okay? Because my to-be-read pile is already big. But anyways. And once you will discover that there are many books written by Tolkien, yes, you are going to dive into this and you're never going to get out. You're going to be crazy and passionate, and yes. So it gives a very accessible storytelling. I don't know if you understand what, but I think you agree with me. The Rings of Power is very accessible. So a broad amount of people, a broad audience will be and is already allowed to enjoy the series and the universe. So the Rings of Power, for all of these reasons, combines everything. I'm speechless. Well, it's because I've been talking for like an hour. It's one of the longest episodes. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Well, sorry, not sorry at the same time. You know, because I read and talk a lot. Yes, I'm a talker. I love to chit-chat. I love to debate. I love to dive deeper into something I feel really passionate about. So sorry, but not sorry at the same time. So it's a very captivating experience, fantasy experience. And fantasy, well, more than anxiety, is my second name. You have anxiety and fantasy. These are all my second names, okay? Don't try to catch me on that. Yes, fantasy is something I really love. Specifically for young people, because it's more accessible and easier, but The Lord of the Rings is accessible in a way. In a way. I didn't say that the Silmarillion is accessible. The Silmarillion is not accessible because it took me many times and many tries to read it. And still I didn't finish it. Oh my God. I don't assume. No, I don't assume. Not at all. I'm honest on it. But I go straight to the point. I don't lie. So I'm engaged into this series and I'm eager I'm eager to know more. Well, I think that's the end of this episode. I talk too much. So if you enjoyed this episode, I really, really loved recording that episode. And I hope that my audio is not going to crash when I export. Okay? Because sometimes it happens and I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But I think I did great. So I'm going to save it before exporting because I'm scared of losing it. Okay? So if you can hear it today, it means I did it. Yes, congratulations, Hortense. You made it. So if you like this episode, feel free and do please like this episode and subscribe to my channel. And you can leave a comment and you can share this episode if you want. And if you also want me to do more episodes in English, I'm more than pleased to please you. Okay, so please tell me. And you can contact me by email. You can contact me on Instagram in my DMs. I accept every single DM except like people who want to flirt with me. Like, hey, sexy girl. I'm from this country and I delete. I don't care. Okay. But if I see that it's one of my followers and stuff, I accept immediately. And because I love talking. I'm very passionate. So yeah, but I think with an episode that is an hour long, you understand that I'm passionate. So also feel free to follow me on Instagram. I post regularly on Instagram. And I also post my recent critics, my books critics, my avis lecture, you know. So my opinions about my recent books and reads, let's say. And I also post about comfy activities. So, please take care and hope to see you next time. And I hope you enjoyed this episode and please go watch The Rings of Power. That is all I wanted to say. Bye, guys. Mwah!